Ukraine Today is joined by the chairman of the Anti-Monopoly Committee of Ukraine, Mr. Yuriy Terentyev. Mr. Terentyev, welcome to Ukraine Today.
Thank you.
Mr. Terentyev, I understand you have been appointed just some 3 months ago to this office, and you are the first chairman of the Ukraine's antitrust authority coming from a corporate background.
True.
Can you tell us what are your main and top priorities as the new chairman of the Anti-Monopoly Committee of Ukraine?
Yes, for sure. Thank you. Our main priority is basically it lies in three areas. There has been historically some disappointment in the market with the businesses or with the lawyers about limited transparency of Anti-Monopoly Committee with regard to what it is doing and with regard to how Anti-Monopoly Committee is doing what it was doing. Currently we plan the following activities. The first block is about quite rapid changes in the legislation. On the agenda of some groups in the parliament and also on our agenda is to bring changes to the law on economic competition, mainly with regard to changes to the thresholds for horizontal mergers. In order to make the system of merger control more effective and efficient. Our objective is that our activity should be transparent, it should be understandable for the business, and also the business should understand what to expect from Anti-Monopoly Committee. Because, again, our objective is not to impose penalties. Our objective is to model the right behavior, because our objective is not the collection of penalties, it is competition development. It is a promotion of competition. So therefore our initiatives in the area of development of legislation are the first block. Second block is law enforcement. Historically, we were focused on a lot of relatively smaller cases. But if you look at the bigger picture where Ukraine currently is, we see that generally the markets are getting more and more monopolized by big companies. And by focusing on the small issues, we lack to work on really big priorities. So therefore, our priorities should be shifted from working on a big number of smaller cases to really addressing the strategic problems of our economy. We see that from our statistics, the markets, the branches of economy which are the most monopolized are the energy sector, transport, communication, and we need to focus on these areas, also having in mind the limited resources which anti-monopoly has. We are only 250 people in the central department and plus some 500 more in territorial branches.
When saying you need to focus on these areas which are heavily monopolized, what do you mean by that?
I mean that there has been a lot of discussion about who is right, who is wrong, whether some companies are monopolists, whether they are not, whether, for instance, high price of tickets for airplanes. Is it the reason for monopolistic abuses of some companies, or is it the reason of, I don't know, poor demand of consumers? So we need to, on the one side, we got to listen to what are the public expectations, but on the other side, as a professional body, we need to formulate our own objective, fact-based position. And we are not to chase any concrete company. We are to really investigate what is right. We are to see where are the inefficiencies of particular markets and address them systematically, but not with the objective to penalize something, but with the objective to rectify the inefficiencies. So basically, that's what I have said. First priority is about development of legislation. Second priority is shifting the focus in law enforcement. And third priority is communication. Because as I have said before, our objective is not to collect penalties. Our objective is to really to promote competition in the market. And again, for that, we do not necessarily need to investigate a case for a year and a half and impose a penalty of 100 million hryvnia, which would eventually be never collected to the state budget. Our objective is that people and businesses, they should feel as quickly as possible the positive effect of our activity. And we have tools for that.
Understood. Mr. Terentyev, what about the corruption fight? Because all the post-Euromaidan governments had corruption fight in the government agencies as their top priorities. Can you tell us how do you plan to fight corruption in the AMC?
My personal view is that my personal view is as follows: corruption thrives where processes are transparent and where is a big extent of subjectivity of a particular official. From my perspective, the best way to fight corruption is to make processes transparent and really to implement as many tools as possible, for example, IT tools, like to track application for merger clearance, yeah? So that the interaction and personal discretion of a particular official would be much more limited. And talking about concrete initiatives, not about just ideas, how it should function right. What we are doing in this area. Firstly, we have developed now rules for calculation of penalties. Hopefully, they will be adopted. They will be adopted by the committee. So currently, they are under public discussion. Our plan is that on the 15th of September they should be adopted and they should be vetted. What it means is that every business would know what are the rules of anti-monopoly committee about calculation of penalties, and respectively the extent of discretion will be much less. So we want to avoid the situation that for the same violation someone is penalized with 50,000 hryvnia, someone is penalized with 50 million hryvnia. Also, the system of penalty, these rules about the calculation of penalties, they will have a clear list of what are aggravating circumstances and what are the circumstances alleviating liability. So therefore, because our idea is that these rules, they should stimulate people to behave in the right way. Second, we will publish, we have already started publication of decisions. It is very important element because businesses, they should know, we should form the, so to say, the case law of anti-monopoly committee. It should be evident, it should be understandable, and it should be available to everybody who wants to know what behavior is right, what behavior is wrong. Thirdly, in the area of merger control, we plan to change two main documents, which is the procedure about filing of merger applications. We really want to make it very clear, very understandable, so that there would be much less maybe discretion on the side of anti-monopoly committee what documents to request, and there should be really clarity on the side of businesses which documents should be filed with the application. These are very concrete steps which would dramatically reduce the subjectivity in the work of anti-monopoly committee, but corruption is definitely something which would take maybe years to eradicate. And but we got to start with the big chunks.
Mr. Terentyev, talking about timing, you said that you plan to adopt the changes to calculation of the fines on the 15th of September. This is clearly understandable. What about the changes to the rules of filing the merger control applications? When is that going to happen?
We have extensively discussed this with experts from the European Commission. And they were a bit skeptical about our optimism. We are optimistic, and we are committed to work out at least a basic draft of these documents. I mean, horizontal rules for horizontal merger assessment and changes to the procedure about filing of merger applications in the coming 3 months. So hopefully, end of September, beginning of October, these documents should be available for public discussion, because we want to show them to the legal community, to the business community, and really to have a constructive discussion about them. So I anticipate that it would take a bit more time to get them approved, but we want really that end of September, beginning of October, these documents should be available for, at least as first drafts, for public discussion.
Understood. Well, looks like some concrete timing and some concrete vision. We will continue our interview with the chairman of the Anti-Monopoly Committee of Ukraine. And now back to the news on Ukraine Today.